In response to COVID-19 racism, Diversity Arts Australia has commissioned new works by 68 Asian Australian creatives from across all arts practices. Before we take a look, please be advised this segment may be confronting for some.
Community leaders have condemned a coronavirus-based racist attack
related to coronavirus.
It is important to remain calm about this.
Abuse has been on the rise since the pandemic began.
Chinese Australians have been targeted during the coronavirus pandemic.
Two of my Asian sisters were beaten, dragged by their hair and kicked in the face in Melbourne CBD by a white woman because she made the erroneous correlation between a virus and its country of origin. And when I saw that on the news, I was mad as a busted up fire hydrant spewing 100 degrees Celsius of disbelief. Tell me, how can you stamp a boot on someone's neck when they are simply enjoying their solitude? For the I Am Not a Virus project, I wrote a slam poem called Lessons from Grandma. It starts off with me expressing my disappointment, anger, fear. I definitely did want to channel some of my grandmother's resilience and her strength in this poem. If doctors examined my grandma's DNA, they would find poetry in her blood. It is made up of 1 part oppression, 2 parts resilience, a wake of adversity, and a dash of sass. The other theme I wanted to portray is we're all people and nobody should be treated less than human or subhuman just because of a virus.
I'm a musician and cabaret artist. My art form is music and my song is called Expired Tree. When I first moved to Sydney, coming out as a young queer person, I used apps and websites to meet people, and I would see things like no spice, no rice, or no Asians, or white only, and I've even also had an Asian person say to me, so I'm not into Asians. I get close and watch you hold your breath, just 'cause it's colonizing. I was performing. It was 3 a.m. and I left. I was minding my own business, just walking to my car, just going home. I got approached by this young white guy, and he thought it would be funny to come up to me and ask if I had the coronavirus, and started laughing out loud with his mates. The sad thing is it happened at a queer space, at a queer venue. And historically, queer parties, queer venues, gay bars, they are meant to be safe spaces for the queer community, but some of the most homophobic, transphobic, racist, vile comments actually happens at, these queer spaces.
My name's Lena Nahlus. I'm the Executive Director of Diversity Arts Australia. We recently surveyed our community and over 90% had experienced racism as a result of COVID. It's actually how the project came about. We know this is happening. We know racism towards Asian communities is not new, but this has increased. What is a way that artists can best respond to this? And what better way to respond than through the art itself? We've had 68 artists who we've commissioned, so the response has been immense to this. We have pop music, visual art, dance, we have poetry, spoken word, sculpture, VR. So the range is really, really broad.
During the COVID-19, I was on the train and I was being attacked by one of the passengers to say that I should stay home or go back to Wuhan. In that time, I was a bit afraid, but I didn't say anything about it, and then made me feel sad. And then why this happened again in Australia? To express my sadness, I created a new word that respond to the to the COVID-19. I make this colorful sculpture work to avoid the negativity and to highlight the colorful of Australian society. I'm proud to be Australian.
Because I've always had an Australian accent, I haven't really encountered as much racism as friends of mine who did have an Asian accent, but I definitely did experience it as a kid and even as an adult. People would say to me, "I don't see you as Asian." And growing up and even into my adult life, I saw that kind of as a badge of something to be proud of, which is kind of sad because being seen as Asian shouldn't be a negative thing, you know. My goal in developing the film I Don't See You as Asian, I think it was to highlight and to put a mirror up to the Asian people that are experiencing it and understanding that it's, you know, not something to be exactly proud of, but also putting a mirror up against the people that are saying these words to us and saying, look, you need to think about that before you say something like that to somebody. I don't want people to think that I'm pointing the finger. It's not that at all. I think that I want people to see that this is an empowerment of us.
I hope the one thing that people take away from Lessons from Grandma is to address racism if they see it, if they experience it.
My work is focused about the future of Australian. What does Australia mean for the next generation?
Together as a collective, if we can raise awareness about diversity and racism as well, that is a very powerful moment for the community.